Today, we're unpacking the absolutely epic 200-year story of how one family, the Maktoums, built the city of Dubai through what you can only describe as ruthless ambition, a series of massive gambles, and just sheer force of will.
You know, this quote just nails it. Dubai is a city that, by all logic, really shouldn't be there. I mean, it rose from a tiny fishing village on the edge of a vast, empty desert to become this global powerhouse. So the real question is, how? How did they pull that off? That's the story we're going to dive into.
We're going to break this down into 6 parts. And as we go, they're going to see this incredible pattern emerge. A devastating crisis hits, and it's followed by a bold, almost reckless gamble that completely reinvents the city and just sets the stage for the next big boom.
So the story of Dubai doesn't start with some peaceful settlement. No, not at all. It actually begins with betrayal, with violence, and a desperate migration that was born from a really brutal family feud.
It all boils down to this one moment, back in 1833. The new ruler of the powerful Bani Yas tribe, Sheikh Khalifa. He needed to cement his power. So what does he do? He invites his rivals, a lot of them from a branch of the family called the El Bufalasa, to a wedding feast. It was supposed to be a symbol of unity, but it was a trap. Right in the middle of the celebration, swords were drawn and his rivals were just cut down, completely shattering the peace. The survivors from the Albu Falasa, led by 2 cousins, they had no choice. They had to flee. They journeyed north with about 800 followers and settled on this small, salty, frankly, inhospitable creek. And that desperate act of survival, well, that was the founding of Dubai. For decades, Dubai was really nothing more than a small, modest port. All the real wealth, it was flowing to bigger, more established cities nearby. To survive, Dubai's new leader, Sheikh Mohammed bin Hashir, knew he had to do something totally radical. And his solution was a game changer, a free port. In 1894, he did the unthinkable. He got rid of all taxes on trade. Completely. Now, if you were a merchant in Persia or India getting crushed by heavy taxes, this was an offer you just couldn't refuse. It was a massive gamble that honestly could have bankrupted the entire city. But wow, did that gamble pay off? The creek filled with cargo boats, merchants, and all their money poured in, transforming Dubai from this quiet little backwater into a bustling regional hub. And all this new wealth, it fueled the city's first great industry, pearling. So, by the early 1900s, pearling was everything. It was the absolute backbone of Dubai's economy. But a boom like that is incredibly fragile, and it was about to be completely destroyed by a single invention from halfway across the world. You really have 2 worlds colliding here. On one side, you've got the traditional pearl divers of Dubai risking their lives. On the other, a modern factory in Japan. A man named Kokichi Mikimoto figured out how to mass-produce cultured pearls that looked identical to natural ones, but cost just a fraction of the price. Almost overnight, the entire global market for Dubai's pearls just evaporated. Poof, gone. The economic devastation was just total. Divers were jobless, families were deep in debt, and all this pressure led to a political crisis. A council of merchants, called the Majlis, they tried to seize power from the ruler. And the whole conflict ended, so tragically, at another wedding in 1939, where the leaders of the reform movement were shot and killed. Facing total ruin yet again, Dubai found another opportunity. This time, though, it was in the shadows. When India banned gold imports, Dubai's merchants saw their opening. So here's the play. They'd legally import gold from Europe, then secretly smuggle it across the Arabian Sea on their traditional dhow boats. This trade was illicit, sure, but it was hugely profitable, and it became the city's brand new economic engine. Okay, so this brings us to the next visionary leader, Sheikh Rashid. He comes to power inheriting a city that had survived, yeah, but now its very lifeline, the creek, was silting up. It was literally getting clogged with sand, threatening to choke off all the trade that was keeping the city alive. So what does Sheikh Rashid do? He takes another huge gamble. And remember, they have no oil money yet. He borrows a fortune, 400,000 pounds from Kuwait, which is millions in today's money, to dredge the creek. I mean, it was an enormous risk. If this failed, Dubai was finished. But it worked. The channel was deepened. Bigger ships came back, and Dubai was once again the busiest port in the entire region. But just as the city was getting back on its feet, a new crisis popped up. In 1968, Britain announced it was pulling its military protection out of the Gulf. Suddenly, these tiny little coastal emirates were totally vulnerable. Sheikh Rashid knew they couldn't survive on their own. He drove out to meet Sheikh Zayed of Abu Dhabi in the desert. And right there, together, they laid the foundation for a brand new country, the United Arab Emirates. And then, after decades of searching and watching its neighbors get rich, fate finally smiled on Dubai. They struck oil offshore in 1966. Now, it wasn't a massive find like in Abu Dhabi, but you know what? It was enough. It provided the cash Sheikh Rashid needed to fund his vision for a modern city, and it fueled huge projects like Port Rashid and the World Trade Center. Now, Sheikh Rashid's son, Sheikh Mohammed, he inherited this foundation, but his ambition was on a whole other level. He didn't just want a regional hub. He wanted Dubai to compete with the big leagues, with New York, with London. His goal was to build a future that was completely independent of oil. So how did they do it so fast? Well, they had a playbook, and it was aggressive. Step 1, borrow billions of dollars. Step 2, use that cash to build these breathtaking, world-first mega projects at lightning speed. And step 3, use the soaring value of that new real estate to finance the next, even bigger gamble. And the results were just staggering. The Burj Al Arab, the Palm Jumeirah, the world's best airline, the tallest building on Earth. I mean, the skyline just exploded upwards, almost overnight. It seriously looked like magic. But this whole dream was built on a massive mountain of international debt. And then, the music stopped. When the 2008 global financial crisis hit, credit markets just froze. The state-owned company Dubai World defaulted on $26 billion of debt. Construction ground to a halt. Expats fled. The city's entire financial system was right on the brink of total collapse. This was Dubai's second great bust. It was a real moment of truth. Everything the Maktoums had built for generations was about to be completely erased. But just like every time before, that crisis led to a dramatic intervention and to yet another reinvention. Salvation came from right next door. Abu Dhabi stepped in with a $10 billion bailout that saved the city from going under. And in a now famous gesture of gratitude, when the world's tallest tower opened a month later, its name was changed from the Burj Dubai to the Burj Khalifa in honor of Abu Dhabi's ruler. It's like a thank you note written 828 meters high in the sky. And here is the ultimate proof of that 200-year gamble. The vision of a future beyond oil? It's been achieved. Just look at this. Oil now accounts for less than 1% of Dubai's economy. It's practically a rounding error. The city runs on trade, tourism, and finance, exactly as its leaders always envisioned. So this leaves us with a final thought. Dubai's story is just filled with these moments of near collapse, from tribal massacres to full-on financial meltdowns. And yet, at every single turn, a leader stepped forward with a bold, risky vision. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Perhaps the most valuable resource a nation can have isn't oil or gold, but leadership that just consistently turns crisis into opportunity.